Good evening, everyone. It's March, and we all know what that means. And no, I'm not talking about March Madness. I'm not even talking about getting down to football free agency, which is going on right now in March, or the upcoming NFL draft. No, what I'm talking about is way more important than any of those things. It's way more important than sports, entertainment, or anything else that you want to talk about. What I'm talking about is these right here. Books. Books. Why am I talking about March and books? Because March is National It's Reading Month. And so every March, those of us who work with kids, and I'm not a teacher, but I do work with some of the most at-risk kids in my own community. And I do talk to a lot of teachers in my community who do teach those kids. And one of the most important things that we can teach kids, and one of the most important gifts that they can have that will sustain them throughout life and last throughout life, is the ability to read. And so March is Reading Month, and so all across the country you have different organizations who work together with the schools, and people come in and read books to the kids and have interaction with the kids, that, and a lot of them sometimes may not get that interaction at home because, as you know, nowadays parents are busy. They're having to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And the education system isn't what it used to be due to the fact that we have cut teachers' fundings, and we have also cut funding to schools as a whole. You know, we talk about children being the future and how it's important that we have a good education system in this country. But time and time again, you have these politicians who say these things come election time, but then when it comes time to allocate the money for the fiscal year budgets, education is always one of the things that gets cut first, or the money gets moved around out of the funds that are supposed to be for education to be used for something else. So, with that being said, March is Reading Month. It is important for all of us who work with kids, your own kids, if you're a teacher, if you're involved with children in the community, or if you're just a community member, to get involved and help out with teaching kids how to read, making sure that kids are reading, and promoting reading as a whole. Now, I'm no LeVar Burton. This ain't Reading Rainbow. But when you look at the statistics throughout the world, and you see kind of where the United States ranks in those recent statistics, it's very, very important that we promote reading with our children. Though we have moved up in the recent statistics from number 11 to number 7 in terms of literacy, there's still 6 other countries that are ahead of us in terms of literacy and reading, not just for kids, but for adults alike. And so those countries are Finland, Norway, Iceland, Denmark, Sweden, Switzerland. And then we come in number 7 behind number 6, Switzerland, in that order. And so the question is, what are we going to do as a society to have a more educated society? What are we going to do to make sure that our kids are successful and that they're able to get through life and to have the type of life that, as parents, we would all want for them? Now, I don't have any kids of my own, so it's easy for me to have the time to pitch in, read to the kids at the school, work with the kids, and give that a little extra time. But what I'm saying to those of you who are parents is that with the problems that we have in our education system, with the problems with not having funding, not having enough teachers, currently having a Secretary of Education in the United States that probably couldn't read her way out of a wet paper bag because she's just clueless. And with the dangers in society, it's important that we equip our kids with this skill and this ability to read. Now, the U.S. currently ranks all the way down to 14th in education as a whole, which shockingly, that's not as bad as you would think it would be considering the things that I've just talked about. So, why is it important to have these kids be able to read? Why is it important to make sure we're spending time with our children and teaching them to read and get them engaged in liking picking up a book? Well, there's about 10 reasons for that, and they are this. First, it expands their vocabulary. It helps them be more articulate and know the correct way to use words and the forms and time frames when these words are necessary to use. So it just basically expands their vocabulary. It obviously helps them build independence. It can keep them safe too, because if you're at home reading a book, then you're not out on the streets getting into trouble or possibly putting yourself in a predicament to where you could get shot, killed, whatever. Now, obviously, we have the problem with the school shootings, and that's something to be addressed in other avenues. I don't want to get into that now, but specifically, if you're reading at home, then you're a little bit more safe than you are if you're just out wandering the streets. Now, number 4, it helps them make sense of the world around them. You know, basically, with a book, it can take you anywhere in the world without leaving your living room or your bedroom. But it can take you on adventures wherever, and it also leads to future academic success. Because obviously, if you can read, then studying comes a little easier as you get older. It keeps the kids entertained, and we all know that that's something that's difficult to do sometimes, especially if you have a kid with ADHD or something of that nature. Aside from keeping them entertained, it enhances their imagination, it improves their grammar, it makes them better at reading, because with anything, practice makes perfect, right? Now, aside from that, the most important one that it does that it helps kids out for the future is that it improves their writing skills. Obviously, this is the good riddance, so to me, that's number 1, that it improves their writing skills because, as I said before, it improves their vocabulary, it improves their knowledge of different words and when to use them. So, you know, the most important thing that you can do as parents, because of the situation and the basic state that we find a lot of our schools in, unfortunately, is to read a book with your kids. It strengthens your bond with your child, and it's a productive and positive way to spend time with them. So, with that being said, March is reading month. So, aside from the madness of basketball, aside from baseball getting ready to start, aside from all the sporting events and entertainment and things going on out there in the month of March, remember that March is reading month. Pick up a book, read it to your kids and their friends, or if you don't have kids like me, go volunteer to read to kids at a school. Read to your nieces, your nephews, whoever it is. But let's all pitch in, let's all get involved this March, and let's make this a successful March's Reading Month. I'm Jay Maz from the Good Riddance Podcast, and I'm telling you that you need to read. Peace.